Hi, my name is Manuel Mejorada, and welcome to my YouTube channel, Writing 101 with Manuel Mejorada. For those who are new to the channel, I have been a journalist for over 4 decades now. I started to write for a local newspaper in Raw City Copies at the age of 17 while I was still in college, and I worked with their local radio station. And from then on, I continued to work in newspapers as well as in the Development Bank of the Philippines, as well as chief of staff of a congressman in the second district of Iloilo, and I was provincial administrator of Iloilo from 2001 until 2010. I've been back in journalism since then, and this is now my writing channel, which I hope to be able to share with especially the younger generation the experience, the knowledge, and the ideas I've gained all over the years so that they too can become proficient and good in the writing craft. Most of the young writers now are more fortunate because there are an abundance of materials available on the internet, even on YouTube. Mine is just one of the many channels that deal with writing. But I think among Filipino vloggers, I am only one of a handful, if there are any others, who are going to tackle this subject on a weekly basis. Yes, I'm doing this on a weekly basis and I'm doing it live so that if we have a growing audience later on, I hope to be able to interact with viewers and answer questions about the writing craft, no? And I can see that we have only one in the live audience. Now there are two, and I would like to thank the two viewers, no? And I'm very happy to see that over the last 2 weeks, the channel has gained in the number of subscribers. I think the number of subscribers has now gone up to 197, no? Which is already quite a lot, no? Considering that this topic is not one of those TikTok, not one of those pranks, no, not one of those joke time, but this is serious stuff. And I expect that the people who would come to this channel are those who want to learn, who want to gain in their experience and skill in writing. And as I promised, today I will discuss writing tips from the very famous, the best-selling author of, if you are familiar with Carrie and so many other books, Mr. Stephen King. And Stephen King is one phenomenal writer in terms of volume, in terms of number of books, and of course in terms of number of copies sold. Now, just a brief background about Stephen King. Uh, he used to be a high school English teacher, and he supplemented his income as a janitor. But he had always loved to write, no? And his genre at the start was really science fiction. He learned to write by sending contributions to a science magazine when he was in his teenage years. But he kept on writing and writing until he found a job at the high school in the United States, and it was there that he wrote Carrie. No? And For a while, he just kept writing and writing as he submitted his manuscript to a publisher in the United States until one day he got a call. To his surprise, he was informed that his book was going to be published by Doubleday Publishers, if I'm not mistaken, and he was going to get an advance of, I think, $6,000. For a struggling high school teacher like him, that seemed a lot, $6,000. He didn't know that down the line, as he continued to improve and continue to produce more novels, he would be a millionaire. Okay, so let's get down to business. So this is the first book. That's Carrie by Stephen King, and you can see in the background so many books that he had written. All of them, no, all of them, if I'm not mistaken, had sold millions of copies per book. No? So he's one of the more popular writers today. He would be about 74 years old by now, but still quite healthy. Now, one of the quotes that I would like to share from Stephen King, and I think almost every writer will agree to this, that writing is a lonely job, especially for fiction writers. Well, journalists, reporters meet a lot of people every day, and it is their business to talk to people. It is their business to negotiate, to get information, to develop sources, and all of that. So it is the writing in journalism is more exposed to people, while the fiction writer, as Stephen King said, it is a lonely job because you spend several hours a day just writing and writing, and you do not even know if your work will get published. If your hard work, your long hours spent on your work will someday uh, get you published and earn money from it, no? But in his case, to his own surprise, no, he became a best-selling author. Okay, so in his book on writing, Stephen King said that the writing craft must be approached like the way a carpenter would approach his job, and he would need a toolbox because without the necessary tools to do the job, you cannot succeed in writing. And the first thing that he said should be in a writer's toolbox is the vocabulary. He described it as the bread of writers. When I was younger, there was this section in the Reader's Digest. I think building up your word power, no? And it contained about 20 quizzes, no? Quizzes that where you just pick one multiple choice, no? You call it multiple choice. So there was this section about building your vocabulary in the Reader's Digest, and that was where I really learned to develop my vocabulary. And every time because my aunt was a subscriber to Reader's Digest, I would the first section I would go to in the Reader's Digest would be that vocabulary section, and then I would go to the other sections, and before 2 days I would have read almost the entire copy of Reader's Digest. So vocabulary. Now, the question is, do you go about listing down the words that you need to know? Well, actually, it's part of the learning process of a writer to find and discover new words as he reads. Because as you will see in this discussion from the book on writing, reading and writing are inseparable. They are almost like Siamese twins. No, they are conjoined with each other. One cannot succeed without the other. No, so vocabulary is the bread of writers. So it's very important that as a writer, you should be conscious of the choice of words that you use. And he also gave this warning not to overdress your words because many writers make the mistake of thinking that they need to use what we call highfalutin words, no? High sounding words, so that their work will look impressive, which is quite the opposite of what every good writer would tell you, that you should keep your words as simple as possible. If you can keep your word to just one syllable or two syllables and three syllables at the most, if you cannot find any other word, you should stick to the one or two or at the most three syllables. And that will be the same thing for your sentences and paragraphs. So vocabulary, of course, when you read, it is always suggested, and part of that is part of a writer's toolbox. Toolbox also is, of course, a ball pen and notebook or pencil. But of course, in this age of gadgets, most of us already input our notes into the smartphones. So But for myself, I'm conservative. I'm still old-fashioned, and I always have a notebook with me. No? I have this moleskin notebook, and I have about a dozen fountain pens now, which I use interchangeably. No, using different colors of inks, experimenting with inks also, because I love to see the ink or the nib of a fountain pen glide across a page as the words and the sentences come out. So number one is vocabulary. No, you cannot go far without building up a solid arsenal of vocabulary. Okay, the next is grammar. No, and again there is the question: should you master grammar as it is taught in school? To be honest with you, up to now, I do not know what the rules are in grammar. That will be very surprising, but I'll tell you, many writers never bothered to learn grammar formally. No? So if you ask me what rule will apply to this particular mistake or error in writing, I cannot tell you. I will just show you how to correct it, and I will rewrite it and edit it so to make it right. But the rule, no. I'm sorry. I will tell you. I'm sorry. I do not know the rule. But one either learns the grammar, no, of one's native language in conversation. I miss one grammatical rules of one's native language in conversation or reading, or one does not. So that's what I mean. I developed this strong sense of correct grammar because of what I read. And when you write, you will see when you write and you read a lot, you will see that you would tend to copy, no, to imitate the works of the good writers whose books you read, no. And one of the techniques in writing, as in any other craft, is imitating. No, you will be surprised that imitating can be is not only maybe is a very useful tool. No, so what I do and what Stephen King did also when I was younger, and I think most other writers, is when I read, as I said, I always have a notebook and pen or pencil by my side, and when I come across a very nice passage, no, a well-written sentence, no, and of course the words, no, that the new words that come out of the book, I always write them down, no, so that the act of writing, no, the act of writing by hand, especially, and I would recommend that you develop that habit of taking down notes using your hand, no, and not your laptop or your what's this, your tablet, no, because there is a physiological correlation, no, that between the act of writing and your brain, your memory somehow stores. No, it's like if you have heard the word, I'm sure you have, no, muscle memory in sports. No, at good athletes, those who are excellent in their sport, are known to speak about muscle memory. So that, for example, a Michael Jordan can just leap into the air and flick the ball, and it goes in. No? And they will attribute that to muscle memory because after hours and hours of practice, it becomes automatic for the brain to calculate the distance, no, and the angle of the ball traveling through the air, and then the ball will get into the ring. No, it's the same thing with writing. No, the more you copy, no, you copy quotations, the nice phrases, you will find out that you are also absorbing, no, absorbing not only the grammar but also the style of writing and how that particular writer expresses himself or herself through his or her work. No, so that's it. No, so it's either you learn from your reading and conversation, or you do not. And if you do not, well, forget about writing. That's the very blunt and honest advice I and Stephen King can give to anybody. Now, when you write, you would always want to make sure that your writing style conforms to certain rules, no, that have been built and developed over the ages. And one of the more reliable, traditional and reliable guidebooks is the Elements of Style by William Strunk and E.B. White. No? This must have been published in the 50s. No? So I'm not even sure if both of them are still alive, but I know E.B. White wrote a number of very good books after this. He was just fresh out of college when he helped William Strunk Jr. Write. It's a very thin book, no? But it's a very useful guide for writers. And I would suggest that if you want to develop your writing skills, you should get a copy of The Elements of Style. Okay, so one of the lessons shared by Stephen King is nouns and verbs are the most indispensable parts of writing. No? Why is he saying you all you need to really worry about are the nouns and the verbs? No, don't worry about the adjectives and the adverbs, etc. No, and he asked this question. No, must you write complete sentences each time, every time? Perish the thought, he said. You don't really need to, when you sit down to write, especially when you are just drafting something or just jotting down ideas or outlining what you want to write. Is it a book? Is it an essay? Is it a post? No, you don't have to write incomplete sentences each time. No, just write and write and write. No, and he also warned that it is. He said that it is an old observation that the best writers sometimes disregard the rules of ethics. So when you are getting better at the craft and you have gained the confidence, you can experiment. You can start to experiment. No, what if I do this? No, will it not diminish the effectiveness of delivering or conveying that meaning? No, okay. But at the same time, he warned, unless he is certain of doing well, he will probably do best to follow the rules. So that's it. No, those who have a grasp of grammar find a comforting simplicity at its heart. So grammar at its core is very simple, and the best and the most simple sentences and sentences are when there are only words that name or the noun and verbs that act. So when you have a noun and a verb, you are almost ready to get into the act of writing. And Stephen King admonished, the adverb is not your friend. So what are adverbs? Adverbs are words that modify verbs, no, adjectives, and other adverbs. No, this usually end in ly, no, at the end of the word. No? So let me share with you some examples that Stephen King gave in his book. No, okay, wait a minute. Oh, here. So you will see that Stephen King said adverbs, like the passive voice, seem to have been created with a timid writer in mind. With the passive voice, that writer usually expresses fear of not being taken seriously. It is the voice of little boys wearing shoe polish mustaches. When boys were boys, they would pretend to grow mustache, or the little girls wearing their mom's high heel shoes. No? With adverbs, the writer usually tells us he or she is afraid. He or she isn't expressing himself, herself clearly, that he or she is not getting the point or the picture across. So he gives this example. He closed the door firmly. It is by no means a terrible sentence, but ask yourself if firmly has to be there. So that's an example of how to interpret this sentence or idea of Stephen King. Fear is the root of most bad writing because many of us start out being afraid of being judged. The fear of rejection, that's it. The fear of rejection, that's the reason why we hesitate to submit the articles. We are afraid to write letters because we are afraid that we will be judged poorly or badly. So, good writing, on the other hand, is often letting go of fear and affectation. Okay, so earlier I mentioned about reading, and Stephen King reiterated this by saying, reading is the creative center of a writer's life. You cannot be a good writer if you do not read. And by read and read and read a lot. It's not always, it doesn't always have to be the classics or bestsellers. And the best writers also read comics and magazines and even tabloids. Because you'll never know where you can find nicely turned sentences or phrases that would be a good model to follow. The real importance of reading is that it creates ease and intimacy with the process of writing. When you spend hours with books, you get to enter into the inner sanctum of the writer. You get to understand what ideas, what emotions have pushed him to write this way, why he is writing about something in this way, what does he want to convey to the reader. So you become intimate with the process of writing, and you become to understand better why a certain paragraph or sentence or paragraph was written this way or that way. Okay, and that will also help the writer, the student writer, to build his or to develop his own writing style. The more you read, the less apt you are to make a fool of yourself with your pen or word processor. So when you already have read so many books, you get an instinct of what is good writing and what is bad writing. So in my case, for example, when I write something, at once I am able to see, even before I have finished typing out that sentence, I can already see at the start that I made the mistake, and I quickly go back to that error or mistake in my writing. Because after reading so many books and writing so many essays, columns, news reports, I already sort of made it an automatic. There is an automatic detector. There is a smoke detector in my mind. Hey, there is something wrong with what you wrote over there, no? And even if I don't see it, but there is already the alarm is triggered in my mind. Paragraphs are almost as important as they look, as for what they say. They are images of intent. Now you can try this yourself. When you open a book, look at the pages, scan the pages, and try to look at how the paragraphs are structured. I can bet that when you see long paragraphs, several or 10, 12 sentences in one paragraph, with each sentence having 15, 20 words, and the paragraph is one page long, I am sure that you will tend to distance yourself from that book, because you know at first glance that it's a very difficult book to read. So it's important as a writer to be conscious of your paragraph. So you have to structure them in a way that when the readers come across them, they are not intimidated. So that the sentences should be simply structured. For example, you also vary the number of sentences in each paragraph. You can have one paragraph with only one sentence. And then the next paragraph will have four, the next will have five, the next will have three, so that there will be a change of pace, no, in the reader's mind when he goes through. So it's always it needs to be repeated again and again that writing is something you learn only by doing. You cannot become a writer if you just imagine you are writing in your mind. It never works. And I'm sure that when you sit down to really write, the words will not come out because you learn by doing, and in so doing, you develop that discipline. You tell your brain, for example, and this is something that most writers follow, is they keep a schedule. Usually, in my case, I like to write early in the morning, and most writers love to write in the morning. After they've had a good night's sleep, and then their mind is fresh. So that's when the ideas just flow, keep flowing out of their minds. Their typing can only go as fast as they can type, no? But really, it's that time when the words flow like a river or even a dam that has been opened. No? So you learn by doing, and this is why you need to develop a writing habit. You have to make a decision to write every day. Set a goal, no? Set a goal of, let's say, you start with 300 words, then you move up to 500 words, go back to go up to 1,000 words. When I was in first year college, what I did was I had this white notebook, and every day after lunch, I would sit down and just write anything that comes to mind. And that is a habit I continue to do, continue to practice until now. I just write and write and write. Nowadays, I can write just fill one page. There are days when I can fill two pages. There are days when I can fill three or four or five pages, depending on my mood. But the idea is to develop that discipline to write every day. And good writers, when they sit down, when they have set the time for when they are writing, even if there is nothing coming out of their minds, even when they experience what is known as the writer's block, they still make it a point to sit down in front of the web. Nowadays, it's either the laptop or a desktop, but the idea is you have to sit down and then be ready. If something comes out, then you type it, you start writing. If nothing comes out, you sit down there just looking at the screen, or in the olden days you just look at a blank piece of paper until the next day, and then the next day if nothing comes out, you still keep doing it, so that you are actually directing your brain that during that particular period of the day is when you should oops. So as with the physical, As with physical exercise, it would be best to set this goal low at first to avoid discouragement. No, so if you're just starting, you can just write or pledge to yourself to be able to write 200 words, 300 words, even if they don't make sense. No, that's the trick there. No, it doesn't really have to make sense. The thing is, you teach your mind and your fingers to keep writing. Okay, so I think I have a problem with my setup, and I'm getting no images, so I can just keep talking. No, I just finish this. Okay, so that's about it. No, and I think